What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of GEiX, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and Cloud Dosage back again with another exciting episode of The Prognosis. This is our podcast slash minicast format that we use to talk about the latest fervor in the gaming community news. And we have a special one for you today. This is one that I particularly try to stray away from when I can, but when it becomes, when it boils too much at the top of the pot and it's spilling over, I feel an obligation to say something. I mean, it goes right along with my content, my content isn't to kumbaya, let's hold hands and ring around the rosy around the playground and let's just celebrate anything that's a game. I am looking out for consumers. I'm looking out for fellow gamers. I'm looking out for gamers that are looking for a specific brand, AAA genre defining gaming. I don't care how it comes. I don't care if it comes via console. I don't care if it comes via PC. I don't care if it comes via my favorite way to play games right now, which is the cloud. But I want AAA genre defining games to maintain their muster. And I want those that are engaging with consumers on that particular genre to give consumers their due. We talked about this in a prior podcast that I did on my channel, MM2K Gaming, also known as Hard Knock Digital Culture on Twitch. What you want to do is just go to twitch.tv/HNDC. Check out the content there. You can also go to MM2K Gaming News on YouTube. That's at MM2K Gaming News. If you want to see streams, you can go to at MM2K Gaming Streams on YouTube as well. And then for those of you that are members that are listening to this, whether you're listening to this live while it's still member content, or if it ever makes its way out of members plus content and it makes it out there into the public scene. If you want to check out our members content that makes it to the public scene, say if somebody's like, you know, somebody that might want to engage in this, but they're not sure and they're like, I don't know how this content is, if it's worth the investment, send them over to MM2K Member Plus over on YouTube. That's at MM2K Member Plus over on YouTube, and they can get like a little sample piece of what we're doing. Well, they'll get the whole damn show. And then they can see if it's worth their while. With that being said, I want to say a thank you, and I appreciate everybody coming through today. Again, today is a holiday in the States. This is Martin Luther King Day, and that means my wife is home, so I don't get to create the content that I want to create at the cadence that I want to create it because she's there, and I got to take advantage of times when she's not here. So I just gave her a whole bunch of money. I literally just had my business partner. I asked him, I said, look, we just got paid for such and such time period. Can you do me a favor, bro? I can't take a check right now. I got to put some money in this woman's hands. Please come over, drop me off some cash, and then write me a check for the rest. You know what I'm saying? And he said, okay, I got you. And I gave it to her, so she can get out of here, just so I can get a couple hours to do this stuff, right? Because she's always being a buzzkill. Anyway, it's my wife. I love her. We just celebrated our anniversary over the weekend, so you know, I'm just being a grumpy old Al Bundy husband talking stuff with my wife. I love my wife. All right, with that said, let's continue on because we have an interesting one today. I would be remiss if I didn't show you guys this though. Let me see if I can find it so I can put it on the screen for those of you that are watching. And if you're listening to this in the Discord or you're just listening to audio and you're like, hold on, how do I? Okay, what is this? I don't care about the ad. All right. And you're like, hold on, how do I watch the video format of this? Well, in order for you to watch the video format of this, you got to be a Patreon member. or you have to be a member on Cloud Dosage or a member on Hard Knock Digital Culture. If you're a member in any of those venues, you automatically get access to this content. So just make sure that you do that. Right. All right. With that said, let's deal with today's topic. Are creators placating too much to Xbox's ever shifting strategy? That being said, I did promise y'all I would show y'all something. Let me show it to y'all real quick. This is the website. Currently it's PNTSnetwork.com. We're going through a serious rebranding, and GEiX is becoming a major theme of that rebranding. So definitely you want to check us out on GEiX. Check out the live stream when we do GEiX live streams, particularly the In a Row podcast and other content is coming as well. Also check out our GEiX members like myself and others when we go live and we do stuff. You'll be able to see that content here when it's content for the public. If you also want to check me out on the website, go to members, go to MM2K Gaming, and you'll see all the content that I create. All right, with that being said, with no further ado, let's get to today's topics. All right, so there's this video that's out there, right? And it's a very interesting video. It's a video of our good friend Paris Lilly. For those of you that don't know, Paris is a creator and a co-host on the podcast show Gamertag Radio. That's how I was introduced to him. He's now on Kind of Funny's Xcast as well. And he's a prominent voice in the video game community. Now, Paris is known for always having some sharp opinions that like ruffle people's feathers. And that's because when he says stuff, he's very dismissive to other points of view. Like when he gives an opinion about something that he likes or a way that he's falling down in a big debate, he's very dismissive to other people. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, you can think whatever you want, but you may have bumped your head or you're eating lead chips, and it might be in jest or whatever, but it's the way that it comes off. It's very dismissive to other people and their other points of view. It's like, this is what it is. My opinion is not opinion. It's not subjective. It's objective. Whatever I believe is fact. And if you don't believe what I believe, then the hell with you, because, screw you, because what I'm saying is fact. That's the way it comes off. So through the years, Paris has always ruffled feathers just because of that approach. He's seen a lot of success of it because of it, but he's ruffled feathers. It's like he's the man you love to hate. Well, in the current advent of video games and video game discussions, we started to see an element of the video game conversation, which was the crumb side that used to be highly isolated and highly ridiculed and like really sat on the back burner of gaming discussions. We're starting to see the crumb side have more prominence. Why is that? That's because as the Xbox generation started to take up more room in the gaming discussion on Twitter, the biggest proponents of that were those influenced by crumb side tactics. What are crumb side tactics? Well, if you have something to say about a particular brand that I'm in support of, then I personally attack you. That's basically what crumb side is. If you say something about something that I like and what you have to say is effective, like it's really reaching across the brow and bow, and people are like, oh, that's an interesting point of view, I must debunk you by attacking you personally. You're stupid. This, that, you don't, that going along with that, opposed to just finding personal things, doxing you, whatever. It's some of the most unhinged behavior that you'll see in talking about video games. I mean, and it's even gone beyond typical fanboy fodder. I used to be on GameSpot's forums. And I mean, we said some grimy things to other people, but the things that we said were personal attacks about the point of view. Oh man, that sounds so stupid. What are you, a dummy? This, that, and it was like that. We weren't looking for you personally. We weren't looking to attack your family or attack your looks or whatever, because a lot of that stuff just wasn't obtainable. So we're now on Twitter. Twitter's a little bit more personal. So when somebody disagrees with your point of view, it's very easy for them to pivot off of that point of view and focus on you personally, right? So when we see that happening, we tend to pile on to that, flock to that, and give that growth. And so that element of the discussion is now seeing a lot of growth in the gaming discussion, to where now the gaming community, the greater gaming community that Paris was part of, that wasn't part of this crumb side, that element has now been combined, and the lines have been blurred to where you have the atypical gaming discussions being catered to by the crumb side. Like even now, Paris himself, who normally thumbed his nose at the crumb side, he's now in crumb side spaces, because crumb side commentary and conversation is now becoming mainstream on Twitter. It's getting huge. The engagements are getting huge. It's so bad now, and I say it's bad because I do think this is bad, to where discussions that are based upon personally attacking people opposed to engaging the point that is being made, those type of comments or that type of commentary is bad, because it keeps us in the weeds, and it's not serving fellow gamers that are trying to get educated. That's all I care. I don't want to say that's all. I care about them the most. Before anybody else, I care about fellow gamers that may not be in the know, that are looking to be educated, that are being used and abused and thrown like a rag doll every which way just for someone's personal agenda. So now you have that dynamic becoming mainstream. You have people like Paris Lilly, who normally used to avoid situations like that, to his credit. I know a lot of people are going to hear that and say, well, MM2K, why would you say that to his credit? That's how you got into the game, through the crumb side. Yeah, I mean, look, I've always been shrewd in my approach with things or whatever, but I came in through the crumb side because I can relate as far as holding your own and battling in the guillotine, and battling in the arena, you know what I'm saying, when people try to insult you, because I've had to deal with that all my life. You know what I mean? So I've had uncles, we do nothing but clown each other, all that. So I can relate to that. And I always feel that in the most hostile of situations, if you can defend your point of view and make your point of view shine in the most hostile of situations, the better you are for it. I grew up in moot court competitions, debate clubs and stuff like that. So this is nothing to me. At times I get agitated, because I would prefer for the discussions to stay on point. But if you want to go into the weeds and talk silly and stupid, I'll smack you down. I'll give you a couple of lashings, and then once you're immobile and you can't move anymore, then we're going to get back on topic. And I'll use you as an example. Oh, you want to be a dumbass like this jack off right here? Fine, this is what's going to happen to you. Next. But ultimately, I would like for the gaming discussions to be centered around the gaming piece themselves and focus on the subject matters. But now the crumb side element has been thrown into it, where it's about personal attacks and assaults on people's characters versus the context of what's being discussed. So that's why I don't like doing this, because this kind of touches on that. But I think we got to talk about the characteristics of some of these creators. And in order to do that, you got to put examples out there. And it's not to attack someone's character, it's to attack the agenda that's behind it. Like, if we can get people to change their agenda, to be more suited to better produce for gamers, and them try to use that as a catalyst to see success, then, they can still have their bold, brash, shrewd approaches. But if they do it more in line with helping out gamers, I think we'll all be better saved for it. So why am I bringing up Paris Lilly in Crumbside? Well, Paris Lilly, as of late, over the last few years, he's gone from being a staunch PlayStation supporter because, let's be honest, PlayStation just put out the better games. And they've heavily increased their gaming experience by not only putting out better games, but doubling down on their infrastructure, coming up with a better controller, just having more games that have a broader appeal and broader reach to gamers like myself who made a living off of saying why PlayStation was overrated. They've seriously changed, their core offerings. It wasn't like that at first. I feel like there was just a lot of over the top unnecessary controversy about the difference between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox, but Xbox never recovered from that from that characterization of their product. And then they put Phil in, and the rest is history in a downward trajectory as far as what they offered before opposed to what they're offering now. Now, people may hear that, and there may be a lot of new Xbox gamers that hear downward trajectory. I love what Xbox is doing now, and that's fine. I'm not going to debate you on that. I'm talking about those of us who saw Xbox as a competitor for AAA genre-defining games, bringing games like Halo, Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Mass Effect, BioShock, games like that are pivotal in changing the gaming landscape. Those games changed the type of games that we're into in the gaming landscape. They've done so to the point to where Sony went from being primarily just a company that signs exclusive third-party deals with Japanese developers to a first-party powerhouse as far as Western development is concerned, right? And their own particular slice of it, you know what I mean? Which is the third person over the shoulder action game with puzzle elements. And all that transformation was sparked by what Xbox brought to the table. So we're looking at Xbox's offering now versus what they did back then. And to many of us, it doesn't compete. It doesn't compare. There are a lot of Xbox gamers now who appreciate the value proposal or the bargain proposal that Xbox brings, and that's fine. But we're talking about those that look beyond the bargain proposal for Xbox that came here prior, that really saw a competitive ecosystem and product to PlayStation and really was eating PlayStation's lunch throughout the majority of the seventh generation of console gaming, which no other brand was able to say or do. That being said, we are now at a place to where even though Paris Lilly recognized PlayStation's reversal of that seventh generation lunch eating by Xbox and then PlayStation just being a better brand overall, I think a lot of it was Paris was in it for the controversy of it, and he's like, I'm going to stick to this controversy and I don't care what you guys say, right? And so then you get into the latter portions of the generation and it just started unraveling for Xbox and becoming more solid for PlayStation. During the latter years of that transition, I feel like Paris may have not liked that now the console gaming space was starting to shift to him. Like, I feel like at times that Paris likes being a contrarian. What do I mean by that? There are some people that like to look at a sentiment that's out there, and when they see the sentiment, they always like to come with a contrary or a flip side of it and argue that flip side and double down on it. It's like, I'm going to dismiss the norm, and I'm going to battle the norm, and I'm going to make what I'm saying seem plausible to kind of make it seem like that I know it all, and you guys just don't have a clue. Now, people may say I'm guilty of that, so I can kind of relate. It's not that I want to prove that I know more than people. I reject pile-on behavior. I reject conveyor belt behavior over something that people don't understand or they don't have the right perspective on. I don't just flip sides just to flip sides. Like for instance, my affinity for PlayStation now is because it's just providing the best gaming experience out of the two consoles, out of the two console makers. And I look at that in entirety. I'm a fan of Xbox PC Game Pass, but I enjoyed the PlayStation ecosystem a lot more. And that is the popular motif when you look at how well the PlayStation ecosystem is selling and how far it's reaching versus the Xbox ecosystem. Right? So despite that being the popular narrative, I'm okay with co-signing on that, because when you look at the meat and potatoes and the core of it, there's a lot of reasoning behind that. They're just producing the better product. But at the beginning of the Xbox One generation, I didn't believe that, because I felt like that the PlayStation 4's offerings were being overblown. I think people were just upset that Xbox had, took an arrogant approach to some things, and they felt like they were going to, saute them and teach them a lesson. And Xbox unfortunately never rebounded from that. And then by the end of the generation, all the projection ended up being true, because Xbox just didn't have a proper strategy to ever rebound, right? And I feel like they still don't. So in comes Paris Lilly, who went from gloating over PlayStation to now heavily supporting Xbox and being part of all these Xbox discussions. In my opinion, in a very just contrarian fashion, because it doesn't make sense to me, because everything about PlayStation is so much better. And I get that Xbox has this bargain approach that a lot of people may see value in, but the engagement numbers don't lie. That's why I don't like using the word value when it comes to Game Pass, because value is something that people seek. A bargain is there regardless. That's a bargain, Hey, look, if I were to sell this house, for $5, that's a bargain. But if the house is in a bad neighborhood, is that a value? It's a bargain still. Because when you look at the cost of the atypical houses versus $5, that's a bargain. But is it a value? It's a value to me if I seek it, or if I want it, or I see some type of value in it. And the atypical gamer, just look at the numbers. When you look at how many gamers are just on console, don't even talk about PC, because it gets even worse with PC. But when you just look at console, the average gamer does not have does not engage with Game Pass. So it's not a value to gamers. But I do get the value narrative to some, especially people that play a lot of games. I can see the value narrative to some. But for those of us that are focused on the best and the top-notch games, they simply are not in Game Pass. And that's why it's not a value to us. But despite all that, despite Paris in particular being a proponent of the best gaming, this is all this guy talked about, the best gaming, the best offerings that gaming has, and all this other stuff, he seems to be placating more and more to Xbox. And Xbox's ever shifting narrative. I want to show you an example of how not just, I'm going to show you how Paris is doing the narrative shift. I'm going to show you his response to him being called out. And then I'm going to break it down and I'm going to tell you why I think this is happening. I mean, it is not just Paris. For full disclosure, to be fair to Paris, it's not just Paris. It's a lot of these creators, like what's it, AGC, I believe it is. You're hearing a lot of stuff from why? You're seeing a lot of creators that, like Paris, who used to double down on PlayStation because of their stellar games, all of a sudden flip on PlayStation. Why? We're going to talk about it. But first, let's go into this video. This was a great snippet from this one YouTuber. And I want to play what's going on here in this snippet for you. And then we're going to talk about it in the back end. So here we go. Now, this is a comparison of what Paris Lily had to say on Xcast or wherever about Microsoft's strategy first, now in 2024, that they're looking to put their stuff on other platforms versus what he was saying in 2020 and how he's completely shifted based upon they're changing the strategy, right? I want you to listen closely because he speaks adamantly about you can't do certain things. Xbox is now doing those certain things in 2024. And now he's like, it makes sense for them to do these certain things. And then I want you to hear his defense of this being called out afterwards. We're going to talk about. So here we go.
You know what? Maybe we should expand it and put it on more platforms. Maybe we do bring it to the Switch. Maybe we do bring it to PlayStation, right? It's not the craziest thing in the world to say that a Microsoft game is on a PlayStation platform because Minecraft lives there and the various iterations of Minecraft already live there, same as Nintendo. So here's a multiplayer game where you want to get as many people as you possibly can playing that game.
Chase more than that. They want PlayStation guy. They want the most angriest Sony person on social media that just detests Xbox. They want to give them a reason to invest in the Xbox ecosystem. And how do you do that? With exclusive titles. You will not see these games on PlayStation. That's all I'm saying. So,
you know what? Maybe we.
Did you hear that? So you heard that in 2020, Paris was saying, you're not going to see these games on PlayStation because now they want to they didn't spend all this money to bring people to the Xbox ecosystem, but still giving them a choice to play it on PlayStation. That doesn't make sense. But here, Paris, but in 2024, now that Xbox is doing the total opposite of that, or being rumored that they're doing the total opposite of that, now he's placating to their new strategy when he was just saying before in 2020 that, no, this is the strategy that you must follow because that was the indication they were giving in 2020. But now that they switched their indication, he's now placating and completely eradicating what he said in 2020. He's now eradicating it in 2024. Now, and this created a lot of buzz. I noted it. I was like, whoa, there were a lot of eyeballs on it. And Paris now responds. He says, since I've seen my videos of my Xbox thoughts on Xbox and exclusivity on 2020, here's what I said in March of 2021. Sounds like what I said in 2024 too. There will be exceptions to the rule. So remember what he said in 2024 about the strategy. Let's go back to that real quick. Let's go back to 2024 and let's see how comparable it is to 2021. But more importantly, the overall arching theme about placating to say, no, Xbox needs to do this. Then Xbox switches and they say, oh, no, Xbox needs to do that. Let's listen. 2024 again, and then we're going to listen to what he says in 2021.
You know what? Maybe we should expand it and put it on more platforms. Maybe we do bring it to the Switch. Maybe we do bring it to PlayStation, right? It's not the craziest thing in the world to say that a Microsoft game is on a PlayStation platform because Minecraft lives there and the various iterations of Minecraft already live there, same as Nintendo. So here's a multiplayer game where you want to get as many people as you possibly can playing that game.
Chase more than that. They want.
See that? So he said that in 2024. Let's see what he said in 2021. He wants us to watch what he said in 2020.
Of, if I was Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer was saying, hey, we need to spend $7.5 billion, I would say, why? What's the incentive to Microsoft to do so? What is Xbox in the business of right now, right? They're in the Game Pass business, whether they want to fully admit it or not. That's what it's about. They want you subscribing to that subscription service so you can be invested into their ecosystem long term, right? If I'm Microsoft and I'm Xbox, Bethesda lives wherever Game Pass lives. So if there was some magical world where Game Pass eventually showed up on the Nintendo or on the PlayStation platform, then Bethesda games will be there too. But since we know that's not going to happen ever, definitely not anytime soon, that means it's going to show up on Xbox hardware. It's going to show up on a Windows 10 PC. It's going to show up on mobile devices. And like you've been saying, Gary, it is going to show up on TV apps, smart TV apps. That's where Game Pass is going to be. So if I'm Xbox and I'm doing this huge acquisition, that's where all my games are going to be. There's going to be some exceptions to the rules, some one-off games like Minecraft Dungeons, as an example, really comes to mind when I think of that, or Cuphead or Ori, where you will see some games like that show up on another platform. But my big heavy hitters, my big AAA titles, there is no way Starfield shows up on anything that does not have Game Pass associated with it. And I understand the concern with legacy titles like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but same thing. I'm look, the old games will continue to be on PlayStation and everywhere else, but anything new, you're putting that on Game Pass and you're putting that in the Xbox ecosystem. And I'll say one more thing and I'll be quiet. I would also think in this what if Bethesda announcement that happens in March, they also decree that all the legacy Bethesda titles are now on Game Pass immediately. And I'm sure there'll be some deals or legal things.
Starfield is going to be the most disappointing.
But the ultimate goal is the entire Bethesda back catalog shows up on Game Pass as soon as they're legally allowed to be. And you make that statement now, and that gives people even more incentive to want to start investing in Xbox.
So Paris.
So let's listen to part of that again. Let's listen to this part of it again.
Shows up on anything that does not have Game Pass associated with it, and I understand the concern with legacy titles like Cuphead or Ori, where you will see some games like that show up on another platform. But my big heavy hitters, my big AAA titles, there is no way Starfield shows up on anything that does not have Game Pass associated with it. And I understand the concern with legacy titles like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but same thing. I'm look, the old games will continue to be on PlayStation and everywhere else, but anything new, you're putting that on Game Pass and you're putting that in the Xbox ecosystem. And I'll say one more thing and I'll be quiet. I would also think in this what if Bethesda announcement that happens in March, they also decree that all the legacy Bethesda titles are now on Game Pass immediately. And I'm sure there'll be some deals or legal things that maybe certain titles don't show up right away, but the ultimate goal is the entire Bethesda back catalog shows up on Game Pass as soon as they're legally allowed to be. And you make that statement now, and that gives people even more incentive to want to start investing in Xbox.
So Paris.
Okay, so you heard it. You heard his response in that 2021 video where he didn't quite say what he said in 2024. In 2024, he's saying particularly it makes sense for Xbox games, not via Game Pass, but Xbox games to be on other platforms. In 2021, he only says, well, there's going to be some games like Ori or, Minecraft, like smaller, they're non-AAA games. But he's like, Bethesda games in particular, we're not going to put them. You don't put them on other platforms unless they're going to be in Game Pass, and Game Pass is going to be on those other platforms. And it doesn't look like Game Pass is going to be on PlayStation or Nintendo. So I don't know why. I mean, when you contrast what he says in 2021 versus 2024, 2021 and 2024 are still light years different from each other, because in 2024 he's addressing individual games, regardless of if they're in Game Pass or not. See, when he made that argument in 2021, Xbox gamers were like, phew, because we know that PlayStation doesn't want Game Pass on the platform. We're doubtful if even Nintendo will go with it. And Phil Spencer said himself, which I believe, they don't have any plans to do that. He said that recently. So yeah, okay. How is you interjecting 2021's comments? How does that validate that you are not placating to Xbox's ever-changing strategy? I want to show you guys something else. Let me see. This is from The Verge. And it's funny that Paris said that when he did, because in 2021, what did Xbox say? Xbox boss says Microsoft's Bethesda deal was all about exclusive games for Game Pass. So it says, speaking during a Bethesda roundtable event today, Spencer revealed that the Xbox Game Pass is at the heart of the Bethesda deal. If you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. That's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building. So it's funny that Paris went from saying what he said in 2020, that Bethesda games go nowhere, to now he's saying in 2021, where he thought that this was helping his case against 2024. In 2021, he says, oh, we don't want, no, it's all about where Game Pass goes. To now in 2024, when you go back to what he said in 2024, it's like, well, why not try it? Why not do it? Why not put individual games on PlayStation, regardless if they're in Game Pass or not? He's placating to the message after the fact. When the deal first happened in 2021, it was hopeful and it was at the heart of the conversation. And I think this right here, this is Paris being authentic. In 2021, he was like, hold on, in favor of all the capping I've been doing for Xbox, or in favor of Xbox making a power move and really becoming dominant and making all the backlash that I've been getting from me really criticizing PlayStation a lot more and making it seem like that Xbox is offering a better, more consumer-friendly product. You can bring this all home, Xbox baby, if you yank Bethesda and make it all exclusive. That'll save me. That'll be my saving grace. So I think he authentically wanted that. Now again, that's my opinion on why he chose that route, because he was getting a lot of backlash then. And Xbox being competitive in that sense, you would think in theory would help them. That would make them, Bethesda's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, they haven't been at the top of their game within the last few years, but Bethesda's still nothing to sneeze at. And they got some big IP, even though Starfield may have not done what it was supposed to do. They still got some very big popular IP under their belt, right? So why not have them do what they're doing and have them do it exclusively for Xbox? I I think what we heard Paris say in 2020 was authentically his opinion. I think what happened in 2021 is, okay, now Paris is doing some Xbox presentations. He got some pipelines into Xbox. If you've been following Paris on Gamertag Radio, you'll hear that Paris expressed that he wanted to get deeper in the video game world. You know, he wanted to get deeper and spread his wings past Gamertag Radio. There's more that he wanted to do. And he said there was a couple of opportunities that were out there for him and he wanted to pursue them. Right. And he said, I don't know what that means for my future here on Gamertag Radio or my future period, but I want to spread my wings, which is fine. Not a problem within itself. But the thing is that PlayStation, they weren't doing all this fanfare. They weren't doing all these things to where a presence like Paris could really benefit from engaging PlayStation personally. All the benefits and the engagement were coming from Xbox. So he went to, and this is how I'm looking at how things transition. He goes to Xbox. Xbox again. If you look at next to Sarah Bond's name, it has something in the realm of, you know, she's ahead of Xbox platforms and player engagement. I've never seen such a role being associated to the core functions of a gaming CEO. Player engagement, that's normally somebody that reports to her. But no, that's a core focus. Why? Because outside of the product alone, the thing that is really keeping Xbox relevant is social media. They're not doing it in their products. The products are being outsold 3-1. I was laughing with Cold Blood earlier. In some locales, it's 20-1. 2023 was supposed to be their big year. It was supposed to be the green wave that never emerged. Yeah, you can talk about PC and cloud all you want. It's not closing the gap between Xbox and PlayStation in revenue. The only thing that'll get close to closing that gap in a significant fashion is the third-party offerings. They need PlayStation in order to close the gap in revenue as acting like a third party. So if that does it with Activision Blizzard, hell, why don't we put some of this other shit, excuse my French, put some of this other stuff on PlayStation too? Let's not deal with them as a direct competitor. We're going to compete in some avenues, but our direct competitor is going to be Tencent. It went from PlayStation to Amazon, Google to now Tencent. They're messaging their core. What they want to be is all over the place. They don't know what to do. All they're trying to do is maintain relevancy until they can burst out of this cocoon in their mind and be on the same level as a Tencent. First it was, oh, we thought Amazon and Google were going to have a large stake in the gaming stratosphere, and now that it doesn't look like that way, Google done bowed out, and Amazon, we don't know what they're doing. They're standing still. So we don't need to worry about them. We still got to semi-worry about PlayStation and PS Plus, but now that subscription services are coming to a screeching halt as far as in their growth, then who is our competitor? Who can we compare our success to? And let's be like Tencent. Okay, so we still got to maintain these console bums. You know what I'm saying? Because Phil Spencer said it himself, he'd rather be in mobile. We still got to maintain these console bums until we can get to that Tencent level. So yeah, we need mouthpieces out there. That's where Paris fits it. And it personally works out for Paris because he said he wanted a bigger stake. He wanted to spread his wings beyond Gamertag Radio, right? In so many words, he said that. So now in 2021, where he got his connections to Xbox and he understands what they're trying to do, you're not seeing honest Paris. Seeing placating Paris. Now it's okay. Xbox's messaging is simply this. this is all about Game Pass and wherever Game Pass is at. So I'm going to mimic my messaging after that. That's what you see in 2021. But again, Paris got to spread his wings and fly away. So what does he do in 2024? In 2024, now he reverbs his messaging to fit what Xbox is saying now. In 2024, they're saying this. Let's go. For those of you that don't remember, let's play it again. Let's play what he's saying now again in 2024.
You know what? Maybe we should expand it and put it on more platforms. Maybe we do bring it to the Switch. Maybe we do bring it to PlayStation, right? It's not the craziest thing in the world to say that a Microsoft game is on a PlayStation platform because Minecraft lives there and the various iterations of Minecraft already live there, same as Nintendo. So here's a multiplayer game where you want to get as many people as you possibly can playing that game.
More than that, they want PlayStation.
So again, you now have somebody who told you first, no Bethesda games on there. He went from saying that to saying, you know what? It doesn't matter. If it's on Game Pass, it makes sense wherever Game Pass is at. If we come into this mystical, magical world where Game Pass is on PlayStation, then fine, we'll accept it. But that's checkmate for Xbox, and PlayStation knows that, so that we'll never see Game Pass on PlayStation. That's his messaging, you know. And I'm ad-libbing here, but that's his messaging, right? So now it doesn't matter if it's via Game Pass or not. Put it on there. Put it on there. Put it on there. I gave you the timeline. 2020. Whether my reasonings are behind it or not, I just put that in there just for an additive, you know, food for thought. But in 2020, just follow the timeline. I feel like that we got authentic, vintage Paris. Paris won it for the sake of competition for Xbox to keep Bethesda content exclusive. He said you don't pay $7 billion to do that. Now, he said there are exceptions. Those exceptions were the legacy content or the smaller titles. Hi-Fi Rush is not as, for example, is not a small, it's not a big AAA title, but it's a big game notoriety wise for Xbox. Unfortunately, didn't get a whole bunch of engagement. It did not drive Game Pass adaptation the way that Xbox needed it to. So shoot, we better make our money off of this. This is a quality game. It's critically acclaimed. It's a quality game. Why not put it on other platforms and earn our money back on this? Because it didn't do what we needed it to do in Game Pass. There's only 2 to 3 million people that engage with the game. How many of those people are new subscribers? Secondly, how many people, and then you look at the other engagement numbers, like only 50% beat the first boss. This is not doing what they needed to do on Game Pass. Now they can sit there and say, well, this is for retention. No. Look, Xbox needs, when you crunch the numbers, we talked about this in the last Hard Knock Digital Culture episode of NRO Mic Check. When you look at what Xbox is losing because of Game Pass, it's called loss leading. What am I talking about, loss leading? If you look at the fact that Xbox is bringing in $1 billion in revenue, not profits, but revenue with Game Pass, and then you calculate how many game sales it would take for their first party, second party, and for third party games that are in Game Pass, how much it would take for those games to sell to make that same 1 billion. You look at that number and you say, oh, that's easy. They could easily make that if Game Pass didn't exist. They could easily make those sales. So just for Xbox first party alone, you're trying to tell me in a 3-month span, if there was no Game Pass, Xbox couldn't sell 15 million of its entire first party lineup? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, in a 3-month span. So that's like 5, maybe 6 million a month. You're trying to tell me with all of the games that Xbox has in its first party, between the Xbox One generation and now, they can't average 5 million sales or 6 million sales? Those 5 to 6 million games a month in the first party alone would help it reach $1 billion a quarter. That doesn't equate the games like Lies of P, MLB The Show, and all the other Exo Primal, and all those other third-party games that are in Game Pass day and date, that if they had to be bought, how many of those would need to be sold? Now, don't get me wrong, you're getting more games that are being engaged because of the cheaper price that it's in Game Pass, but they're not bringing in new gamers. You need new gamers to subscribe to Game Pass because of these games. You don't need to just the same old cyclical amount of gamers engaging with. You need growth. And these are not inspiring growth. So because they're not inspiring growth, you're getting a loss. Prime example, Horizon Forbidden West. By them putting Horizon Forbidden West in PlayStation Plus a year after it launched, a year, PlayStation didn't see the growth in the subscription model that they would have hoped that it spawned. Therefore, they had an $85 million loss. This is despite, within the time period of PlayStation Plus, seeing a humongous growth. They went from 2 million to 14 million within this time period. They're growing, their growth is a lot higher than what you're seeing with Game Pass. They don't have more subscribers, but within that time period, they're seeing more growth than Game Pass. That they still lost 85 million by putting Horizon Forbidden West in a year after the fact. So if they're seeing those type of losses by putting games in the subscription model a year after the fact, imagine what Game Pass is seeing when they're putting all these games in day and date. Then on top of that, you got to factor in that for the third-party games, not only are they missing out on sales, but they're paying these third-party developers and publishers, or the third-party publishers, to get the games in. So it's a double whammy. So we've already talked about that. That putting these games in day and date into Game Pass is causing a loss because you're not seeing the growth, or you're not seeing the type of revenue that you would see if Game Pass didn't exist, or if these games weren't in Game Pass. Like Starfield easily is getting 20 million sales if it's not in Game Pass, and if they would have made it multi-plat in the sense of to where it's on PlayStation. You're seeing 20 million sales easily by the end of 2023. Now, couple that with only 13 million players. And most of those players, I'm reckoning to bet, didn't sustainably stay on Game Pass because Starfield didn't have a good user score, even on Xbox. These people didn't sustainably stay on Game Pass. They left Game Pass, and or these people just tried the game, didn't like it, and then just abandoned. Or no, they did that already. They abandoned it, and they only got and they got to play it and make up their mind about the game only for $15. Or the people that are playing it and still engaging with it overwhelmingly already had Game Pass. Starfield was supposed to spark growth, sustain growth, and it doesn't look like it's done that. So because of that, you now have this other dynamic. So with that said, now Xbox is like, okay, our original plans, or plan number 82, didn't work. So now we got to jump onto another plan. And because we have people, it's not just Paris, people like Paris, who now feel like that they got to placate to Xbox for their own personal growth, for their own personal well-being. They're going every which way that the Microsoft wind blows them. Here's the danger in that. Let's just say all of this crumbles. When all of this Microsoft hoorah and cheerleading, when it crumbles and Microsoft is no longer seen at all, even from its fan base, as a viable competitor to PlayStation, and that's going to be crushing to that fan base. When they can no longer be seen as a viable competitor, when Microsoft is on a pathway that really isn't super engaging with the hardcore, and the dust settles, who do you think is going to pay for that? All that capping and stuff you were doing, who's going to pay for it? You are. You're losing your credibility here. Not only are you fooling gamers, which I think is the most egregious part of all this, but you're going to lose your credibility when this all collapses. You don't get to take the few times that you did a space, this one and that one, and criticize Xbox in the space, or when you asked a couple of questions that, you know, to Phil, that was, you know, that may have been challenging to a degree. When it really mattered, when we really sat down and had the serious, tough conversation, when we were looking at proactively what this means for the platform, when it really mattered, when you really could have told the truth to the gaming public to help them either influence change or seal the deal on Xbox's fate, you waffled. That's what's at risk for all of you. It ain't just Paris. That's why I took him off the screen. That's what's at risk for all of you. You all are waffling so much that your when all of this crumbles, your credibility is going in the crapper. You cannot sit here and continue to tell gamers it's not raining when their heads are soaking wet and all the evidence is pointing to so. How do you stand to have credibility after the fact? And you're confusing gamers. They're really not going to trust you. Oh man, I believe that dude in here. He was just sold me a bunch of horse wash. So let the lesson be learned that you now have an opportunity in 2024. This is your I think this is your last chance for people like Paris and the likes. You need to be honest about Xbox's offering to the gamer, their lack of a solid plan that they keep eradicating and keep reduplicating year to year, and how that's going to harm the platform unless they follow tried and true, follow a tried and true lane and then pivot from that. You gotta walk before you gotta crawl before you walk. If you want to do this new strategy, fine, but at the very core, you got to prove to us that you can create, sustain, and curate great AAA genre defining games. Until you do that, you won't see success anywhere. You're going to be doing all these musical chairs, trying to do this strategy, trying to do that strategy, and it's all going to fail. 2024 is the year. Indiana Jones is supposedly coming out. We got Hellblade 2 coming out. Stalker 2. I mean, these have to be great games. And if they're not on a trajectory to great games, I mean, maybe opposite of Stalker 2 because that's just a timed exclusive. You need to go to Xbox. I mean, you need to go to your studios, and whatever game isn't up to snuff, hold it back. You really got to start creating great content. You really do. Without that, none of this means anything. And for you creators, you got to start saying it like, look, I understand why they're doing this, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere unless the games are there to back it. That's my concern. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush was cool and all, but if it was that great of a product, it would have brought more people over to the platform. It's probably a good enough product to put somewhere else and it, you know, bring back, it see some more success. But we need content that's going to make people flock to us, like how we did in the 360 era. Anything short of the 360 type praise isn't good enough. That's what we need to hear. That's the honesty that we need to hear. You ain't got to have the same 360 strategies because I get you lost a lot of money. But whatever it takes for you with what you have now to get 360 type of praise, you need to do it ASAP. That's all we need to hear from these guys. Until we hear that, they're being dishonest. And when the dust settles, I don't care how far people like Paris want to spread their wings, they're not going anywhere. They're going to get clipped off before they take flight. That's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, who cares what I think? But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. They'll lead you to GEiX, Cloud Dosage, and Hard Knock Digital Culture. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.